So what if I told you that the very blueprint for our modern world, I'm talking everything from your smartphone to the latest medical breakthroughs, was actually laid out in a book written more than 400 years ago? It sounds kind of wild, right? Well, let's get into it. Because back in 1605, a guy named Francis Bacon published The Advancement of Learning. And he didn't just write a book, he basically launched a revolution that completely redefined the purpose of knowledge itself.
And this quote, this is the one idea that really changed everything. You see, before Bacon, knowledge was often treated like a private collection, something you'd use to win arguments or just to look smart. But Bacon came along with this totally radical idea. He said the whole point of learning isn't for personal gain, it's a public good. It should be a rich storehouse, not for a select few, but for every single person.
So, to really wrap our heads around how groundbreaking this was, here's what we're going to do. We'll start by looking at the world Bacon was up against. Then we'll unpack his revolutionary new goal for knowledge. We'll also diagnose the sicknesses he saw in the learning of his day, explore his plan for charting the great unknown, and finally, trace his incredible, long-lasting legacy. To really appreciate the change Bacon brought, we first have to understand the darkness he was stepping into. The intellectual world he was born into wasn't about discovery, not at all. It was about debate. Imagine a huge library, but it's just filled with beautiful, intricate, and totally empty cobwebs. The big philosophy back then was called scholasticism. So what does that even mean? Well, basically, learning was all about studying a tiny handful of ancient authors, mostly Aristotle, and just getting really, really good at arguing about what they wrote. The goal wasn't to go out and discover anything new about the world, but to make sure those old texts didn't contradict religious beliefs. And Bacon saw this problem up close. When he was just a teenager at Cambridge, he thought this whole approach was completely useless. He hit it with this absolutely scathing critique. He said it was a philosophy that was great for starting arguments, but it was barren. It produced absolutely nothing useful for real people. It didn't cure any diseases, it didn't build better bridges, it didn't improve a single person's life. Bacon had this brilliant analogy for it. He said that when the human mind only works on itself, without actually looking at the real world, it just spins out cobwebs of learning. Yeah, they might look impressive, kind of like a complicated spider's web, but in the end, they have no substance or profit. Knowledge should become completely detached from reality. Okay, so Bacon is looking at this world of pointless arguments and dusty intellectual cobwebs, and he decides to propose a radical new purpose for knowledge. This is the big turning point. He wanted to shift learning from just thinking about things to actually doing things. Now this slide, this just captures the shift perfectly. Look at the left side, you've got the old goals. Knowledge is just a comfort, a status symbol, a weapon for debates. But then look at the right. Bacon's new vision is completely different. It's all about looking outward. It's about building a collective storehouse for the benefit and use of men. So here's the bottom line, the crucial point. Bacon argued that the real test of any knowledge is how useful it is. Its value isn't in how well you can argue about it, but whether it can actually be used to help people, to relieve suffering, to build a better world. For the time, this was a philosophical bombshell. Now, like any good doctor, before Bacon could prescribe a cure, he first had to diagnose the patient. He identified what he called the distempers, or the sicknesses of learning, all the bad habits that were holding knowledge back. He broke it down into three main problems. First, there was delicate learning. This was just an obsession with sounding smart, focusing on fancy words and style instead of the actual substance. Then you had contentious learning, those endless, pointless debates the scholastics loved, the ones that just spun more cobwebs. And finally, fantastical learning, which was the tendency to believe in superstitions, myths, and just plain nonsense without ever questioning it. And the end result of all these sicknesses? Knowledge just got stuck. It became this complicated game that a few smart guys played inside university walls, totally cut off from the real-world problems that everybody else was facing. So after diagnosing the problem and setting a new goal, Bacon laid out a practical plan. He basically said, okay, here's the new map for where we need to go. A map for a whole new world of discovery. And this right here, this is such a profound idea. He basically said we shouldn't just worship the ancient thinkers like Aristotle. Why? Because we are the true ancients. Our time, right now, has the benefit of all the accumulated knowledge that came before us. The world is older and therefore wiser today. This one idea completely freed thinkers from being stuck in the past. His plan was incredibly methodical.
First, he said, let's make a giant map of everything we already know. But then, and this is the genius part, let's use that map to find the blank spots, what he called the parts that lie fresh in waste. This was pretty much the world's first blueprint for a coordinated research program. It told scholars, stop arguing about what we know and go explore what we don't know. So what was the actual impact of this one book? Well, it wasn't just some academic debate. Bacon's ideas fundamentally rebuilt our world. They created the intellectual architecture for modern science and all the progress that came with it. I mean, you can literally see the ripple effect on this timeline. Just a few decades later, in 1660, the Royal Society of London, one of the most important scientific groups ever, was founded explicitly on Bacon's principles. His ideas about progress and reason then became a major engine for the entire Enlightenment. And today, the whole system of scientific research, of R&D labs, of seeking knowledge for the public good, it's all a direct descendant of the philosophy he laid out in 1605. Bacon didn't see knowledge as some dusty old monument you just admire from a distance. For him, it was alive. It was something that grew and needed to be shared. He used this incredible metaphor of books being like ships of time, carrying wisdom across generations, allowing each new age to build on the discoveries of the last one. That, right there, is the essence of human progress. And that kind of leaves us with a big question for today, doesn't it? Bacon challenged his era of limited books and information. We live in an age of infinite information. So his question is maybe more relevant than ever. Are we using this vast ocean of data to build that rich storehouse to help humanity? Or are we just getting better and faster at spinning new, more complicated digital cobwebs? This is for entertainment and educational purposes only.